Hey, what's up guys? It's Marth and welcome back to another video. Today, finally, I'm giving my sort of review for the Racing Master beta. I know it's been, about a month since the beta ended, and I really only just uploaded that one gameplay video for you guys because I wanted to sit on this game and really think about it, but I also was just really busy and didn't get around to making a proper review and, going over all of my different thoughts. So this is what this video finally is for. Now, there are a couple of things I want to mention like I did in the other video. Firstly, of course, this is the beta gameplay or gameplay of the beta. So this is not final. This is not close to being done from what we've heard from the developers. This is still very early on in the development of this game. So please keep that in mind. And I am also keeping that in mind. None of these thoughts or anything like that is like final, and I'm not like judging this game. I'm just sort of looking at it and looking at what can be improved, what I like, all that sort of stuff. And again, I'm still keeping an open mind for this game's release. I have pretty high hopes for this now that we've played and seen the beta. But again, I just want to reiterate, this is the beta. It's not final stuff. And while I still have high hopes, like I said, I'm, looking forward to what they do in the future. Maybe there will be more tests before the game is released. It definitely still has a very long way to go, in my opinion, but it's definitely a good start. And one thing I do want to say is, regardless of what happens, this is still a game that's better than like 99% of pretty much all other mobile racing games out there. The only competitors to this game are games like Asphalt and Real Racing 3, because everything else is like drag racing or touch and go, where you like touch at specific points, like the new Project Cars Go, which I actually do have some footage of, and maybe I'll make a funny video about how bad that game is. But this game, in my opinion, even if it were just released right now in its state, is still going to be way better than the majority of other games. I just want to mention that because I don't want this video, even though I have a lot of negative things to say, I don't want it to be like I'm just dismissing this game as garbage, because that is totally not what I'm saying here. But without further ado, let's go into some of the things that I like, because there were a lot. Like I said, I think this game is better than pretty much everything else out there, except for a couple things like Asphalt and Real Racing. Firstly, the graphics in this game definitely look like they have a lot of potential. On max settings, this game does look beautiful at times, and there are definitely inconsistencies in the lighting. Like sometimes it just really looks like garbage, even on those high settings. You'll go out into a very brightly lit environment, and I guess maybe the game doesn't adjust for it like it should or something, but it just looks blown out and terrible. And in some areas it could definitely improve, but overall the detail of the cars in this game is absolutely amazing. The environment details are really great in a lot of places, and overall this definitely feels more like a grounded, realistic environment compared to something like Asphalt 9 that definitely has more of that heightened reality, more not cartoonish, but less realistic vibe going on. And lots of people probably prefer the realism. Personally, I prefer more heightened realities, more things that are unrealistic. But this game, regardless, it looks great. And once they start to improve optimization and they keep working on the graphics, I think this actually could be the best looking mobile game in general. Like a bunch of other games are, while they're designed for mobile, they're not designed with high-end devices in mind. This seems like it has been designed not only for high-end devices, like they've considered mid-range devices from the lower graphics options that they have, but it does seem like they're actually giving thought into how good they can make this game, which is really nice to see for a change. The other good thing I do want to mention is the car selection, and like I said, the car detail is great. Unlike Asphalt 9, this has like super detailed interiors that you can go in and explore, and the customization also has really good potential. I'm going to talk a bit about the menus and stuff regarding customizations in a sec, but in terms of just the ability here, you have way more than what you have in other games like Asphalt 9, and it is really great to see for a mobile racing game. And I'm very excited with what they do. Hopefully they add more options for like true custom paint jobs, because right now you can only select between a bunch of different presets. Like I really want my matte orange, but it just from what I could tell, just doesn't really exist right now. And so hopefully they'll be adding that sort of stuff in the future. But for now, even still, it has a lot more compared to other games, which is nice. And that really kind of leads us into what I don't like about this game. And again, it's a lot. This is, again, beta. I have a lot of thoughts because personally, I do want competition for Asphalt 9. That's the best for all of us. And this game has a lot of potential. And I'll talk about that feeling I get in certain specific areas that really make me like this game a lot. But there are definitely a ton of areas that I don't like. First of all, this game definitely gives you the vibe of big car, small track. And the very obvious example is on the map called Harbor, which in my opinion is one of the worst experiences I have ever had in a racing game. Now, let me be clear. I understand that this game is targeted towards a more skilled player base, or at least a player base that you want to emphasize your skills. You want to keep getting better at the game and you want to master the tracks. I get that. But there is a difference between having a map where you can learn the skills, you can learn the track, you can learn how to handle your car on the track properly. And a lot of tracks in Asphalt 9 do this. You start out, it doesn't seem right, it doesn't feel right, but then you get to learn it, you get to master it, and then it feels so smooth. This game, and specifically some of the tracks like Harbor, are just, in my opinion, they're garbage. The cars are way too big for the track, and you keep bumping into everything. And I get it, if you were perfect at every corner, you wouldn't be bumping into walls and stuff like that. But regardless, because the track is so darn small, you end up going like 30 to 40 miles per hour on a drift or something, and it feels like I'm just in a parking lot, honestly. Like, it just doesn't give me the sense of scale or scope or sense of speed that I want personally in a racing game. And I know everyone's different, and I'm not familiar with the drift community. I'll admit that I really am not. My sort of vision of drifting is classic, like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit and Asphalt, where you're drifting at like 200 miles per hour around a big bend. And that's my style of drifting that I prefer. And while I can see that there's definitely some appeal in cutting really sharp corners and making very precise movements, I just don't think that some of the tracks in this game make it fun or enjoyable. Like, you're just going so slow because of the fact that you're in a game. It just doesn't feel good at all. It feels like you're just, like I said, drifting around like a small parking lot instead of drifting around on like the mountains or in the harbor. And so that is my biggest issue with this game right now, is just the feeling you get with the drifting in some of the smaller tracks. Now, moving on to a track like Tokyo, where there's a lot of big bends and sections where you're going pretty fast, this is where I see this game at its height. Going very fast around a giant corner, drifting at high speeds, I think has a lot of potential to really rival games like Asphalt 9 on mobile in terms of the sense of speed that you get, because drifting sort of gives you a feeling that you're going faster than you should, but you're still in control. And that's the type of feeling that I love, especially in this game, when you're drifting around a long corner and you're still maintaining a high speed, but you're not like bumping into a wall, or you're not just like going 20 miles per hour. And so, in my opinion, I think this game needs more longer tracks with longer corners and wider corners. I think those tracks like Harbor and Bayou Mountain are really just not suit for this game. Now, I guess, you know, Bayou Mountain is a bit of a different one, because I can see how if you get very competitive, you can really master that track, and it might feel good once you get that ability to like not hit any corners or anything like that. But in my opinion, a sense of speed is more important than the most complicated tracks with the highest skill ceiling. And so again, that's really more of an opinion thing, I guess, but it's just something I thought I would point out, because that feeling of drifting around a corner at high speed is just what made me feel this game has so much potential. And I think there's still a lot of room for skill in faster drifts around wider bends. Like in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, for example, there is a very high skill ceiling in terms of the drifts. Even though it doesn't look like there is, you can really get very precise with your movements in that game. And of course, I'm talking about the console game, not the mobile game. And you can see speedrunners, they know how to take corners very precisely, and they maintain those very high speeds, and it doesn't look like too much of a difference between a beginner and someone who's mastered the game, but you end up saving tons of time because they just know how to properly take advantage of it, and they still maintain that sense of speed, and they still have the ability to get very wide corners and very long and fast drifts. So in my opinion, I would like to see more of those very large bends, very fast drifting experiences. Chicago sometimes is a good map, but on those very tight 90-degree bends, it's just not very that fun. And especially, like I said, on Harbor, it doesn't really evoke anything in me except for just anger at how like dumb it feels to drift around a corner at 20 miles an hour. So that was the main sort of gripe I have with this game, is really the feeling. And that, unfortunately, is something that you really start to develop early on in a game's life cycle. It's very hard to change the fundamental experience of a game while it is in late development. So I don't know exactly how well or how much this is going to change. I'm hopeful that there's a sort of sense that they're looking at this sort of stuff and trying to narrow down how they want to go about the maps and the drifting physics and all that, because I think it's pretty good in terms of feeling. Like, you have enough ability to control where you feel like you're in control, but it's not too realistic to where it feels bad. So like, you don't drift and then you just like stop and slam into a wall, kind of like a sim racing drift might be. So it feels good, like I said, to drift at those high speeds, which I like, but the maps don't take advantage of it. And so that's kind of what I'm saying here. So let's move on to some of the other stuff that I have about this game. And again, this is beta, and I think most of this other stuff is going to be fixed or at least looked at, but it's just stuff I wanted to mention nonetheless. And the first thing is just optimization. Now, this gameplay you're seeing is a combination of the high and medium graphic settings. Well, I mean, they call it high and super high, so I don't know, it was weird. I guess they don't have yet in the game the like super low graphics options. They had just medium, high, and ultra from what I remember. And so my gameplay here is a combination of ultra and high. And especially even on high, you still get tons of frame rate stutters and drops, which is not very good for a game where you need to keep precise movement and you need to be very aware of your momentum and the feeling you get. And having a high frame rate very much helps you out in that respect. Anybody who's ever played a competitive game knows that a higher frame rate is just frankly better, and this game really needs to work on optimization. I'm not running on a 5-year-old Android phone or anything like that. I'm running on an iPhone 12 Pro Max, and even at that high graphics option, not the ultra high, I'm still getting those frame rate drops and stutters. Now, frame rate drops they're annoying, and because of the graphics, I can understand it. The real issue is the stuttering, where you lose control for a second and you might spin out because of it. So if anything, they really need to fix the stuttering, because that is the most important thing to fix. So the other thing I wanted to mention is the user interface, because I was playing this game, and 2 days into it, I was playing this game for a couple hours per day, and it took me 2 entire days to realize there is a garage. Like, I just couldn't find it until I stumbled upon it by accidentally clicking a back button that I didn't know existed, and I was like, oh, this game has like an actual garage. This is so cool. And I just didn't know it was there. I forgot where the port was. I forgot where a bunch of other things were, because the menus are just really not well laid out. There's no like main hub. There's like 2 main menus and you can switch back and forth between them. It's really weird. And in the UI, in terms of customization, there's an issue where if you apply something, there's no specific button to deselect that thing you just put onto your car. So in order to go back and change something without paying for the thing you just selected, you have to revert everything, which is incredibly frustrating. And this may be due to my own negligence to master the UI. Maybe I missed a button or something, but you know, I've been playing mobile games for a very long time, and I'm not like some 78-year-old dude who's never used a phone before. I know how to get my way around user interfaces, and I just could not find a correct way how to use this user interface. So, and again, this is in beta. I definitely didn't think this was final or anything like that. There definitely looked like there was a lot of placeholder stuff, but just something I wanted to point it out. The UI needs to be massively improved in this game. So going along with confusion in UI, the currency in this game is just crazy. I don't even remember the names. It was like X gems, X coins, stuff like that. And again, it seems like placeholder stuff, but I just wanted to mention that that sort of thing needs to be sorted out in order for new players to feel welcomed into the game. Because if you get into a game and you see like 15 different currencies and you have no idea what they do, you're just gonna be like so overwhelmed, and it's not gonna feel very good to win a race and get all these currencies if to you they mean nothing because you don't know what to do with them. So they need to sort out the currencies. Frankly, I have no real suggestion because they had all these different ways of buying cars and opening crates and selecting upgrade parts and paying for those upgrade parts, but then you could scrap the parts to buy new upgrade parts. So frankly, this is just something they're gonna have to deal with, and I just really, the only thing I have is my complaints. I think Asphalt 9 hit a good spot with currencies. Like you have trade tokens, you have tokens, and then you have regular coins. And I believe there was some other stuff, but those are the three main things. And as long as there's like 2 or 3 main currencies that you use, I think that'll be good enough for most people. One thing I do want to mention though, because I mentioned Asphalt 9 and that reminded me, as far as I can tell, there is no gas system in this game, which is frankly amazing, and I'm so glad. I don't know if they're going to add this in the future because it definitely seems like a possibility because there are a bunch of cars in this game, but for now, there is not a gas system, and I'm so darn happy. I think we can all just take a moment to appreciate the fact that there is no gas system in a modern racing game for mobile, and that's just great. So overall, like I said, this game has a ton of potential. The feeling you get when you're drifting at high speed on a track like Tokyo is great, and I think really the main issues start to arise when you actually get into the faster cars, which is quite funny. And I'm going back to the tracks here for a sec because that's just the main focus of this video, is the experience with the cars and the tracks. Once you start getting to, you know, you use the Koenigsegg and the Ferrari, LaFerrari, and the A-class cars, it just becomes uncontrollable, and it really feels like the cars are too fast for the track. So either they have to add more tracks that are longer and less tight, or they need to even just like reduce the speed of the A-class cars, because frankly, even though it will take a bunch of time to master those cars around these tracks, and again, that's not the issue that I have. I don't care that maybe I'm not the best player and I still need to master it. Again, I have no problem with that. I encourage that. That's the type of stuff that I like. I think just that the track design in general doesn't work with the car physics and control. I think there's a conflicting sense there, and that's sort of the main thing that I want to convey. Again, I have nothing wrong with having a game that requires a sense of mastery and you have to learn how to handle the car. I played this game for multiple hours per day, and I really felt like I had a pretty good sense of the controls of this game. And I know each car is different, but I really felt like I knew how to take advantage of the controls and how to play this game properly and how to take corners properly, and even still, it just didn't feel right when you got into one of those fast cars on a small track. That is the main thing that I want to convey in this video. But of course, what are your thoughts on Racing Master and the beta? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like I said, I am very much looking forward to the future of this game. I think it has a ton of potential to be a great, fun, skill-based mobile racing game that actually feels like a true racing game and not just like a drag racing game or something like that. So again, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys later.